Hey guys, I hope y'all are doing okay. It's Friday night, kind of unbelievable that we aren't going to be in school anymore. Pretty crazy. But I hope all of you and your families are okay. And today I want to teach you the first of the topics that we did not get to at school. If you remember, before we had left school, we took our quiz on mean, median, mode, and range. And the next thing that we were going to get to was circle graphs. So today, I want to teach you how to take data that's not acceptable for a circle graph and turn it into a circle graph. First of all, before we get ourselves started, we have to go back and refresh our memory on a couple of the things that we should already know. So inside of your notebooks, you had a gotta know list. When we make circle graphs, we focus on the fractions that have halves, fourths, and eighths. So let's take a minute. I'm going to turn this camera around and draw some pictures to make sure we understand. So this is what we should already know. This is what we should already be able to do. If I use the back of this paper, we should recognize that if I were to draw you a circle, okay, if I were to draw you a circle, and in that circle we were going to take that circle and we cut that circle in like so, I think you would all agree with me that this part of the circle right here represents half of that circle, and the other circle represents 1/2 as well. From our gotta know list, we should already know what that fraction is as a percent. So what is it? Correct, 50%. So 1/2 of a circle is 50% of that circle. Let's say I were to draw you another circle, and when I draw you this circle, this time I'm going to take this circle and I'm going to cut it into fourths. Again, another piece that we should know and recognize. So let's say that I were to color in a part of that circle. You would say that I've shaded in how much of that circle. Right, I've circled in 1 out of the 4 parts of that circle. That fraction we should just know. We should know what percent that turns into. So what does it become? Correct, 25%. Now let's say I color in a little more of that circle for you, and I color in this piece and I color in this piece. We would now say that we've colored in what part of that circle? Right, we've colored in 3 out of the 4, which is again another one of our gotta know fractions. And we should just know that 3/4 turns into, yep, 75%. Good. Okay, now that's our halves and our fourths. Now the last one we have to do is we have to know our eighths. So inside of our circle, to get eighths, we're going to take our whole circle and we're going to do one big plus sign and then a multiplication sign. So let me show you that in 2 parts. First part, big plus sign. So you'll see here, all I've done is put the big plus sign on the inside. Now on top of that plus sign, we're going to put a big multiply sign. So you see like the big X, a big multiply sign over the top of the big add sign. We've now cut this thing into 8 parts. So we're going to focus on the odd numbered eighths. So that would mean that we would need to know 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, and 7/8. Okay, those are the eighths that we should know. So does anybody remember the pattern for the eighths? If you remember, the eighths were the fractions that had the decimals that had 3 places after them. So there was a pattern to that, if you remember. Anybody remember it? Yep, I think I heard some of you. So in the first one, it's 2, 5, second one's 7.5, third one's 2.5, and then the last one's 7.5. Those are the last two numbers in our decimals. We've got to have one more number. Just moving my light here, guys, so that you guys will be able to see. Give me just a second here. Let me move this light. Here we go. I think we'll be able to see a little better now. Okay, so there's our 1/8, our 3/8, our 5/8, and our 7/8. And if you remember, in the first one, we just took the numerator and put it in the front. In the second one, we did the same thing. Took the numerator, put it in the front. And in the last two, the two biggest ones, we took the numerator and we added 1. So the new numerator here is going to be 6, and the new numerator here would be 8. These then are the decimals that are equal to those fractions. But if you remember, we turned everything here into percents. So how do we make a decimal into a percent? Well, if we're going to make a decimal into a percent, we're going to go see the Big Dipper. That's right. So the Dipper tells us that we have to move the decimal point how many places to the right? Correct, 2. What if there's one number? Move it 2. What if there's 3 numbers? Move it 2. So 2 places to the right, that's going to take this guy, turn him into 12.5%. It's going to make this one 37.5%. It's going to make this one 62.5%. And the last one's going to be 87.5%. Now remember, 0.5, the decimal, is the same thing as what? Correct, same thing as a half. So 12.5 is the same thing as 12.5%. Okay, and the same thing is true here, 37.5, 62.5, and 87.5%. Okay? All right, so this is what a half looks like, what a fourth looks like, and 3/4 looks like. And this is how I would take my circle and turn it into eighths if I needed to. All right, with that said, let's go make some circle graphs. So let's take a look at our first example. Looks like our first example has blood types in PE Bell 7. Okay, so it looks like I have, what kind of a graph is this? It looks like I got a key down here at the bottom. Everybody remember what kind of a graph that is? Correct, that's a pictograph. So all the way back to 2nd grade, maybe even 1st. So every single one of these represents 5. So let's take type A people. There's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So it looks like 30 people have blood type A. How many people have blood type B? Correct, 20. How many people have blood type AB? 10. And type O, 20 is also right. Okay? So that means that there are 30 people that have type A blood. 30 out of how many? Correct. So we've got a part, a part, a part, and a part. Remember, when we add all of the parts together, we get the whole. So there are 80 total people. So that means that there are 30 out of 80 people that have type A blood. That means there are 20 out of 80 that have type B, 10 out of 80 that have type AB, and 20 out of 80 that have type O. Now, according to these fractions, since each fraction has the same denominator, these denominators say that I should take this circle now and cut it into 80 equal sized pieces. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very fun to me. So we're hoping that we'll be able to reduce those fractions. And hopefully those fractions should also turn into halves, fourths, and eighths, just like we just did. So I think 30 over 80 is going to become 3 over 8. 20 over 80 is going to become 2 over 8. 10 over 80 is going to become 1 over 8. And type O is going to become 2 over 8. Now you might tell me that those 2 over 8s are also going to reduce a little further. Those 2 over 8s are going to become, correct, they're going to become 1/4. But do we agree, hopefully we do, that 1/4 and 2/8 is the same thing? So what we want to do now is we want to take this data that started as a pictograph that we then turn data into fractions so that we could now turn this thing into its circle graph, and let's go do that. So according to our data, we're going to need 8 parts now, and we know how to do that. We're going to take our circle, we're going to first draw our big plus sign, then on top of our plus sign we're going to put our big multiply sign. So we're going to put our big multiply sign right up on top. And now I have my 8 pieces. Now I've also got a pencil here that has an eraser to it, and I've kind of drawn these fairly lightly so that I can erase them easily. Now, out of those 8 that are there, according to our fraction, type A blood is going to get how many out of those 8? It gets 3 of them. Now, to be honest with you guys, it doesn't matter which 3 we start with. I usually start at 12 o'clock, so if we imagine this is a clock, this would be 12 o'clock. So I'm going to give, going clockwise, those first 3 spots to type A. So this guy, and this guy are all going to be the type A blood. So I need this guy as my bookend, we'll call it. And I need this guy as my bookend. Now everything inside, those 2 little marks inside, those 2 lines we drew inside, we don't need those. Okay, so we're going to get rid of those guys. Erase those. And now we have those 3 parts, and we can label it. This is going to be type A blood. And that's 3 out of 8. Now, if I don't remember, I can go back to my other side, and my 3 out of 8 was 37.5%. Then we'll label that. Type A represents 37.5% of the data. Now let's go to do type B. Out of those 8, type B gets 2 of them. So we're going to give 1, 2 to type B. So we'll use this guy as our end mark, as our bookmark, our bookend. This is the other bookend. We can use our eraser, get rid of that line that's on the inside of that. Might have drawn them a little too heavy to start with. So when you do this, make sure you draw them nice and light because you might need to erase them. So this guy represents type B blood, and that's 25% of the data. Because we know 1/4, which is the same thing as 2/8, is 25%. That's a gotta know. Type AB blood, let's go to that now. Out of those 8, type AB gets 1. So one of those, give it this one. So this guy here is going to be type AB blood. And our fraction is 1/8. But as a percent, our gotta know if we just know, is 12.5%. And hopefully these 2 that are left goes to this last blood type. So type O is going to get 2 out of those last 8, going to get both of those. We already have our bookends already set, so we can get rid of this line that's on inside it. Get rid of this line here. And now this is going to represent type O. And that's 1/4, which we said was 25%. Okay, and that's our full circle. Now, the circle, remember, represents 100% of the data. So if we took each of these percents and we added them together, they should add up to 100%. If they don't, we've done something wrong. Okay guys, that's our lesson for today. That's how we take data that's presented in one graphical form and turn it into a circle graph. I'm going to send you the rest of this paper for you to do on your own. You will have until Wednesday in order to do this, and I will send you the key on Wednesday. I hope this is great for you guys. This is one of those things that we did not learn how to do in school. This would be the next test: mean, median, mode, and range, and circle graphs. So today we're learning how to take pictographs and turn those into circle graphs. Okay, guys, have a great day. Talk to you soon. Hope all is well with you and your families.